So they invited me, they sent me the details. And when I went there, right, it was really one of the life-changing moments. I stepped in there, right, thinking I could show off my knowledge, right?
Okay.
Because I just won some trading contest. I made about 80 to 100% on this stock called Rossi Pacific. Again, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I knew, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I thought I was pretty good already, you know. So when I went there with my ego all high up, right? First person I met was Sir Jing, whom I think you just interviewed.
Yeah.
First person I met was Sir Jing. He was so young at the time. I looked at him and I asked him, hey, so what's your best stock? You know, I asked that question so I could have a chance to show off. So I was setting up the humble brag, you know, so I can say, me, Rossi Pacific, 100%.
Yeah.
But Sir Jing smiled, you know, in a very earnest way. Netflix. So I think it was about 6-7 bagger at the time.
Yeah, correct.
You can go that high. Because you know, when you're investing in SGX market, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see, I don't know what's a 6-bagger, you know. I thought 30%.
Cannot phantom, right? 6-bagger.
How do you reach so much, you know? Then I started talking to Sir Jing and he was just very fascinating. And not only him, the rest of the other investors who were present at the dinner, the way they talk about value investing made me see things that I didn't see. And then I suddenly, for the first time in my life, knew that I was the village idiot at the table. And when you go to a table and then you're like, God, I'm the stupid one here. Everyone is so smart. I hear people talking about the valuation of Kingsman, how they would value Kingsman. I heard people talking about ARA, asset management. And then after that, the mentor I was stalking, Chin, appeared to come and talk to me. I was like, hey, Chin, what is your best stock? Again, trying to set up my humble brag, and he, Netflix, 20x for me now.
Yeah.
You can hit so high, 20x.
It's crazy, yeah.
It's crazy. So I realized like there is this whole other world, which I didn't know. And I remember going home after the dinner, I was in a daze, you know. The 4 years my investing, right, is not investing at all. It wasn't investing, it was just trading. I thought I knew, but I didn't know.
Before we begin the podcast, have you gotten your free ebook? It's called the Build a Six-Figure Portfolio Guidebook. Now, inside it, we share with you the tips and tricks to bring your stock investing skills to the next level. The best part, it's only 10 pages long and it's totally free. Whether you're on Spotify or YouTube, the link to download is in the description, or you can go to www.firl.co/FREE or www.firl.co/free.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FIRL channel, the best place for long-term stock investors. And this evening, we are very honored to have a very special guest all the way down south in an island of Singapore. I'm very honored to actually be of acquaintance to him. So just a little bit of background about our guest tonight. He actually read engineering at Nanyang Technological University. He has a bachelor's degree in material science and engineering. And a very unique career path, because most of the time if you see the profile is that right out of uni you go to some MNC or you go to a startup, but this one, the first point of entry was actually a private investor. So we'll dig more as we ask him later. Then he became
actually I did went to an MNC. So whole thing got to restart again.
Okay. So I'll ask you about your MNC experience too, as well. Then he went on to starting two very interesting things that for me, and I'm very curious after reading it. It was the first one was actually writing samurai.com. Okay, and he's presently an angel investor. And the best part about him being an angel investor is that he actually invests into very nascent startups. He's very he terms himself very passionate and very obsessive about startup founders that actually have disruptive businesses. And I got to know him from an investor group, which we share passionately our investment ideas as well. And Jerry Lee, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thank you so much for spending time.
Pleasure is ours.
Yeah, pleasure is ours. So, as I pointed out that you started out as a private investor, but apparently you went to an MNC. So maybe let's start from there then. Yeah.
So I started with the usual route. After I graduated, I went to join an MNC in the oil and gas industry.
Okay.
And that's when I started to learn investing. So I think the job they got me was engineering planner. And because I got rejected from so many jobs, I just took this job because firstly, oil and gas MNC and engineering planner sounds like a legit career path. So I accepted the job immediately because beggars can't be choosers really. I have to jump at whoever offers me a job really. So that's how I got started. So when I went in, the job was not what I was expecting it to be. I think the engineering planning position would only take place in 6 months, but within these 6 months, only 6 months later. So within the 6 months, right, they attached me to an administrative role. So I spent a lot of time dealing with filing, printing, putting things nicely in a folder, which I failed to do very badly. And then I started questioning myself, like, is this what I studied 16 years for? To be in an administrative role. I thought it would be something more challenging. So one of the roles they got me to do was to collate timesheets for the entire engineering department. So basically, I'm not sure whether you're experienced that before.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that actually.
It's such a painful activity.
Oh yeah.
I don't feel proud being the person who goes around chasing people like, hey, engineer, please do your timesheet. And then the engineer is like, I'm spending so much time working on my project and now I got to spend extra time telling you how much time I work on my project.
Yeah.
And then the engineers, they joke like, should I put 1 hour filling timesheet in the timesheet? So it was a very embarrassing role for me because I got to go around and ask all these experienced engineers to, hey, do your timesheet, submit your timesheet. And the compilation was very manual. I remember there was on Excel files and I got to compile it very manually. One day when I was struggling with this very tedious routine job, which again seemed very pointless to me, a very kind engineer came up to me and he told me, hey, have you heard of something called macros? So I'm like, what's that? So he showed me that you can actually record like some repetitive actions. And then straight after that, I got hooked. I was like, wow, you mean there's a way I can, make my job much easier? So I went to the library, borrowed a book called VBA for Dummies. If I remember it correctly.
Yeah,
and
VBA. I think it's VBA. Visual Basic for Dummies, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But I used very, very like simple stuff and I kind of like automated my job. So the funny thing is like when I report for work on Monday, within 2 hours, I would finish my entire work for the week. So I had too much time on my hands and I was just going crazy sitting there, pretending to look busy in my cubicle. It was really like a Dilbert life at the moment. I was like, how do I look busy, I just finished my work, it's 10 a.m. This is Monday. It's going to be long and painful. So I thought like, I better get my finances in shape because I just graduated. So I thought, maybe learn something useful like investing. I've always wanted to learn investing. And I got intrigued when I saw one of my colleagues staring at the SGX stock market charts. So asking him, what is that? And then he told me it's investing. You can buy companies, make money from stocks. And I said, wow, sounds good. Okay. And at the same time, I remember there was one engineer telling me that during those times, I remembered the economy wasn't doing that well.
When was this?
I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was 2010.
Okay.
So we were just coming out from the recession.
Okay.
The job market not so bad, but a lot of salaries, a lot of the engineers, they're not getting big bonuses or big salaries compared to the heydays. So he was telling me like, we are looking for a 2% increase in salary this year. And then I stared at them, I'm like, 2%? So I was calculating my base salary, 2%. It took me very long to
4 chicken rice, right? 4 chicken rice.
I don't know, man. maybe slightly more than 4 chicken rice. But I was like, oh, it's gonna take very long to hit my target salary, and I'm probably not gonna be financially free. I need money if I want to start a business and all that. So I think I better take up investing. So I spend the rest of my time reading ebooks. Sometimes I would just blatantly read the book in my cubicle because I was so jaded. Really, I was hoping they would fire me. They just asked me to leave. I don't care anymore. I was just reading my book. So it was from there where I got introduced to investing. But I did not know where to start because I didn't have anybody to guide me. So I was reading like Trading for Dummies. Same time I was reading Ben Graham's The Intelligent Investor. So I was very confused.
Okay.
On one hand, you got all the charts and patterns. On the other hand, you got Ben Graham telling you, there's this way that you can buy undervalued stocks to make money. And I just got very confused. And after that, I read like Peter Lynch and Philip Fisher. And then I will read more articles from traders. So I felt like I was torn between both worlds, and I thought I could combine both together. Because I think there were some articles that combine value investing and trading together.
I see.
So that was the early days. And at the start, I didn't know what I was doing. I just, when I got my salary, I would just dabble with stocks, thinking that I knew what was going on. So I think the very first stock I bought was, I think it was called China Mingzhong, if I remember it correctly. And I can't even remember what the business is now. I think maybe you all do a check. It could be, I think some mushroom,
China
they're selling some mushroom
Mingzhong.
products. Yeah,
Remember
I
the
did not know
ticker
what was
name?
going on. I did not know what was going on, and yeah,
Yeah. MJ, you have any questions?
some mushroom
Yeah.
products or something.
It's fresh vegetables and processed vegetables.
That's right. So
yeah.
I bought it thinking like, I'm investing right now, made 25% in about 4 months, and I thought I was a genius already. Yeah, at that time I was still not sophisticated as an investor, and that's how I got hooked at the start.
I
So
see.
the first bad decision led to a small win, and I started picking up trading and investing.
Why was it a bad decision? Just curious.
Because I thought I knew what the business was, but actually I knew nuts about the business. And if I remember correctly, I was probably looking at patterns like breakout patterns and all that. And basically maybe I got lucky, and then I made some money, and I thought this was the way it's gonna be. So I think I spent the next few years trading, thinking I was investing. And there were wins, there were losses. But the troubling part about trading I found was, you can have very big wins.
Okay.
And then after that, you feel like you timed the market right, you understood the patterns right. But then suddenly you will have like big losses that humble you down again, like, how did I go wrong there? I thought the chart said this is going to happen. Or, this candlestick graph is showing some dragon breakout pattern. Why didn't it materialize?
I've never heard of that before.
I
Dragon
just made it
breakout
up. But
pattern.
there was something, I remember there was something, dead cat bounce and dragon.
That one got
Big
got
cat
cats. I
bounce
know,
is one, right?
but I didn't know got dragons.
Okay. Probably my false memory serving up terms again. But
Yeah.
I was like trying to follow all these patterns and staring at charts all the while, and I just couldn't get consistent results. So you can have big wins and then losses, big wins and losses. And I think it was only until 4 to 5 years later where I started to realize I'm probably not doing as well as someone who buys and holds the index.
I see.
So that was like a wake up call for me. But again, I was still alone at the time. Had no mentors, no friends doing investing. Everyone was trading and speculating as well, thinking that we are investing. And I thought that was the way it was supposed to be. And the fact that I read so many different books didn't really help. So I didn't know what was going on.
I see.
Yeah.
What do you think was the pivoting moment? What was the probably 1 or 2 factors that actually led you to think, hey, the guy who buys and holds index is actually better? Was it because you compared results? Was it because a conversation with a friend or what?
I can't remember. There was this book written by this investor. I think it's called William Bernstein. I got to check his name again. But
Okay.
he's the one that promoted the efficient market theory.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, I was very confused already. So I thought, okay, the markets are efficient. Definitely I can win. Again,
Okay.
like you get what I mean? There's just so many books, as an avid reader,
Yeah.
I don't know, it turned out to be my downfall. Like when I
Understand.
talk to other investors, they get started with, Philip Fisher or Ben Graham.
Yeah.
And then they are always, belonging to that investing school. For me, I tried to read everything. And for a moment of time, I even believe in the efficient market hypothesis until, you just look back at the financial crisis and certain events, you realize I don't think this is very true, I remember when I sold the book away on Carousel, I met the guy at the MRT station, and I saw it was a young guy who was going to buy the book.
Oh man.
So I was telling him, I don't believe in this, I can give you back your money, I don't feel good selling this to you.
It's like peddling drugs or something.
Suddenly I had a conscience. Should I be giving this book to him, when I don't believe in it anymore?
Yeah.
And the guy was saying, I'm exploring, I'm trying to find out more. Then I thought, he's just like me last time, many years ago. So I just gave him the book. And
Do you follow up with him and ask him, hey, how has it been since?
I told him, don't believe a word it says. That's what I told him. But he was like, I'm going to figure out myself. Then I said, good luck.
Yeah. MJ, you had a question?
So
No.
Yeah. So I want to thank you so much. It was so entertaining, Jerry. I want to go back. I want to take a step back.
Okay.
And I want to dive into your. No, it's great. I would be definitely going to come back to that, but I'm going to dive back into your passion into education, because I noticed on your profile, right? The businesses you get started with, even the startups or the angel investing that you are getting yourself involved with, a lot of it revolves around education. And even your business Writing Samurai, right? It revolves around. Maybe can you take us through that journey? Okay. Why that love for education, and was there a mentor, and why are you keenly pursuing it actually?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's at the start, right? It wasn't really like I grew up knowing I wanted to do a business in the education industry. It's more like when I grew up, right? I knew I probably couldn't fit into a typical cubicle job. So I had a feeling like I couldn't fit into society, and the only way I could still do whatever I want and continue living, surviving, is to really make a lot of money. So that kind of paranoia of I have this slight paranoia, I won't have enough money and then I forever be stuck in the cubicle, asking engineers for timesheets. I always had this fear even before I started working.
Okay.
So I was planning and coming up with schemes and business ideas since I was a child in primary school. So if I were to take you back how it got started with Writing Samurai, it was a very convoluted journey. So as a kid, right, I love writing a lot. I thought I was going to grow up to be an author.
Okay.
Until I found out that most authors fail and they don't become very rich. Because at the time I look at Stephen King and my idols like Stephen King, Roald Dahl, who else? R.L. Stein. R.L. Stein was a very big influence. And I thought, wow, I'm going to be an author. I'm going to write horror novels. I'm going to just write and read and do whatever I love.
Yeah.
But I realized that the reality is a lot of the authors, they become starving artists. And I got...
That's true.
I got quite frightened by the prospect. But I had a lot of these little schemes and small businesses I started in primary school. I think one of it was creating a magazine called Jerry's Mega Magazine. I will take a bunch of foolscap paper and then I will write my name, Jerry's Mega Magazine, at the top. And then I will report on very ridiculous news that happened in the school.
Okay.
So it's like a tabloid article.
Tabloid, yeah.
But stapled together with a few loose sheets. I was the artist, the writer, and the editor. So I drew, because I can't take a photo and put it there, right? So I would draw whatever happened, this boy scored an own goal today. This person say he has a crush on this other girl, write it down.
Wow. So just like bit like Facebook back.
Oh yeah, it sounds a bit like Facebook.
Sounds very gossipy.
Yeah.
Actually sounds like a tabloid article.
Yeah.
I'll write weird things like ghost spotted in a toilet on the 4th floor, that kind of stuff. A kid saw a shadow. And I'll write that down. I'll draw comic strips like a regular newspaper. And then because I can't get a photocopy machine, I will loan it to my friends for like, I think 10 cents to about $1, depending on how much effort I put in
Ah,
particular article. So if you want to read that magazine, you have to pay like 50 cents or $1 or maybe 10 cents. I can't remember what's the range.
but
anymore.
only one copy, right? So it goes
Yeah, so they
circulating.
got to
around.
share it around. So it was very fun because like, we had silent reading periods in primary school where you're supposed to read a proper book. But the kids were reading my magazine, and the teacher was asking, what are you doing with that? Let me see who wrote that. So I was getting into trouble for this kind of schemes. So that love for writing and that love for business was actually, it actually started then.
I see.
But I was forced to close down the business because one day I remember this very clearly. My dad opened my bag to check for homework, like most parents do. And then he found all my stacks of magazine inside, and he put it out. He's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Dad, I got a business running. I'm making like $5-6 per week. That's how my piggy bank is getting filled up."
Yeah.
He turned to the first page, right? And I remember the drawing was this guy staring at a girl's butt. For some reason,
Nice. Excellent.
for some reason, the boy, because at the time I think everybody was about 12 years old. I think 12 years old. So
Yeah, it's the
lah.
perfect age. Perfect age.
he made a harmless comment like this girl has a very cute butt. So I drew like a very funny picture of a buttock and someone picking at it cheekily, inspired by all those funny comics that were circulating at the time during that era. That's the first thing my dad saw. He got so angry. He ordered me to throw away all the magazines and tell me to stop this at once and just focus on my studies. So I thought, okay, I really messed it up big time. So I hid the magazines, but the operations stopped.
Still ran.
No. But I went to do other schemes. We wrote I partnered with a friend and we wrote game books.
Wow.
And then after that, we again, same model, we would loan the game books around. So a lot of it was trying to monetize my writing skills
I see.
as a kid.
I see.
So
I see.
again, didn't really connect the dots when I went to secondary school and junior college. Mostly focusing on studying, and at that age, right, when you try to charge your friends money like $1, $2 for something you written,
It's
right,
a lot, yeah.
it's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
So I write and I let people read my stuff for free.
I see.
So yeah, so the
I see.
entrepreneur pursuits stopped them, but there was always this itch, I can't wait to get out of school, start my own business. I don't know what business. I'm going to start a business. I don't care what it takes.
I see.
I'm really going to start a business.
I see.
So the idea for the online education and the education space came in one day when in university actually, when I couldn't attend the lecture,
Okay.
and I had to watch a pre-recorded lecture. Right?
Oh, they had pre-recorded lecture during your time.
They will record the lecture in NTU, and I get to watch it at home.
Okay.
And at that time, right? Sorry, maybe sound a bit spoiled, but coming from a Singaporean where our land mass is so small, but taking a train from my house at the time all the way to the university was about 1.5 hours.
Yeah, because NTU is very far out in
Yeah.
the jungle area, right? It feels very jungle.
Yeah, it's all the way at the end, and I was staying quite far. And taking a bus there was such a time-consuming journey. Somehow it's in the morning, and it's very crowded on the public transport. Sorry, spoiled nation problems. But yeah, but when I remember when I was sick, right, I had no choice. I watched the recording, and then I was like, hey, actually, I could absorb more than what I normally absorb at the lecture. Why is that so? And then I started I started reflecting like, oh, because when I go to a lecture, I'll be talking to my friends. I'll just have a lunch and then I would fall asleep. Or we will just get distracted. Someone talks to you and then you just get distracted.
Understand.
And I remember there was one lecture, I took a biz finance module.
Okay.
And the teacher was explaining some very complicated modeling for business.
Okay.
And because my friend was trying to flirt with a girl, I had to be his wingman. So I had to make him look good.
Okay.
So I had to say things like, oh yeah, how's your guitar practice coming along? Then he's like, not bad. And it came to bite me, many years later when I started reading about discounted cash flow, reading about discounted cash flow
Cash
as
flow.
a valuation method,
Methodology, yeah.
I flashed back all the way to that lesson where I was trying to help my friend hit on a girl. and he's talking about his guitar skills, and I'm like, yeah, this is so stupid.
Yes, but the all important question is, did your friend get the girl or not?
Yeah. He didn't score? Oh man.
It was we didn't work it out. I wasn't a very good wingman. Yeah, but I was like thinking like, hey, if I could just watch the lesson at home, I don't have to cave into this kind of social pressure to help my friend out, So I somehow it clicked when I was I think I was observing a tuition center near my house. It was a neighborhood tuition center where the kids were just streaming in and out lah. And I'm looking at that at all of them going in and out. I was like wondering, why isn't anybody doing this online? It's so much better. The parents don't need to travel. You don't have to queue up. Just take it online lah. Just take it online.
Yeah.
So this seed was implanted in my mind, and it stuck with me for a very, very long time. I got obsessed with this idea lah. For some reason, I thought it was the next big thing. Now the passion for teaching and education didn't come. It was more of a passion for business and to see like an idea take root.
I see.
In the real world, and things actually changed lah. So I was just very obsessed with the idea. But when I graduated, I didn't pursue that idea straight away because firstly, I felt like I didn't have enough money. Finances were tight, and I felt like I studied so long, might as well put my degree into
practice,
right? Yeah, into practice, and I might as well take the salary and try to save up, try to grow the money, and then after that I can start my business. This is why I didn't jump into entrepreneurship immediately after I graduated.
Just curious, go
ahead, MJ.
Just curious, right? Like to start a business in your field back then and today, maybe these two time phases. How much do you actually need to save up? Let's assume you cannot take a loan for this business. You have to save. How much do you actually need to save up?
After we did the math, we realized not a lot. Yeah. After we did the math, we realized it's not a lot. So that's why this is a very competitive industry. I wouldn't recommend anyone to start a tuition business because the barriers to entries are very low. Startup costs is very low.
I see.
Yeah. So I think I started after working at the MNC for about 6 months.
Okay.
I went to jump to another job. It was a marine construction job. And then after that, I worked there for 1 year. And then I think the turning point came when I finally dared to take the leap. I was working on this project, and we were very, very. I felt very, very overworked. We were working 6 days a week. Even on Saturdays, we worked from like 8 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m. So like when I met my girlfriend at the time, now she's my wife. When I met my girlfriend at the time, and when I met my friends, right, they would have to put the food in a packet lunch for me, like in a packet box, in a styrofoam box for me, because the restaurant was closing by the time I met them. And I would be eating there, in a styrofoam box. And even if when we were quite young at the time, like 20 plus,
okay,
like we went for drinks after that, I would just fall asleep at the bar. And on Sundays, I would just spend my time sleeping. So my girlfriend would come to my house and she just watch me sleep. And it was just so tiring for that project, 6 days a week. And then the turning point came when my boss, by the way, my bosses are all very wonderful people.
Okay.
But he said this to me, I think we need to work alternate Sundays. I'm like, what? This is not enough? Alternate Sundays. So at first but that whole company, the amazing thing about the whole company, which I really liked, was everybody had this very gung-ho culture. It was a small SME. They had a very gung-ho culture. The directors were very inspiring. My bosses were very awesome people. I learned a lot from them. And they had this very gung-ho culture. So of course, like everybody competes to see who works more like that. It's a very gung-ho, hard-charging, very manly culture. So I said like, yeah, okay, can. And after that, he walked away. He started to sink in. 2 days of rest a month. I don't think I can take this anymore, 2 days of rest a month. I think it's time to pursue the idea that I want to pursue.
I see.
During this period again, during this 1 year of working, right? After work, my now business partner and we would meet up after work and we would keep on planning and keep on discussing how to start a tuition center, and we would go from tuition center to tuition center, pretending to be customers because we don't know where to start, we don't know how to price,
I see.
We don't know what location to choose, so we will walk into a center and say, like, we look very young. We're like, yeah, I'm looking for tuition for my nephew. How much is it? And then we'll be scribbling down notes. Then we're counting we'll count the number of sleepers outside. Like, okay, I think these guys are good. We should learn from them. Yeah, so that's what we were doing for 1 year. But again, a lot of talk, but not a lot of action.
Understand.
I'm sure you get what I mean when you're trying to start. The impetus.
What was the hesitation? Was it because of like what I said earlier, what I asked earlier? Was it startup capital? Was that the fear? And then was that the fear of losing the comfort of your job? And that was all bottled into just planning, and then not hitting rubber on the road. Was that it?
Correct. I think the fear was losing the network or the so-called career, the very short career I forged out for myself. But then I think I started to realize, like, hey, I'm young, I still don't have kids. I can afford to fail. So if I take a leap now, and if I fail, then at most I just come back into the working world again. I was planning to live very lean. I'm not going to spend my money unnecessarily. Like I was penny pinching. Like when I buy vegetable rice, I would count like what I should eat in order to save just that few cents, And I was doing everything I can. I was trying to learn investing so that my salary can be can grow. But I tell you what's the biggest difficulty lah. The paycheck, honestly, it's like a drug lah.
Okay.
Getting a steady paycheck, it's very hard to pull yourself away from it. But the impetus came when they said, I think you need to work alternate Sundays. And then I think 1 week later, I give the letter to my boss. And I said, I need to quit. I'm going to start a tuition center. And of course, like everybody found it quite funny. I mean, I don't have an education background, no business background, only engineering background. And now I'm going to start a tuition center. Like it was, it seemed like a very foolish move at the time.
What did your parents say? Did they get a culture shock when you told them you were doing this?
Okay, so my mom passed away when I graduated, so
I see. Sorry to hear
she
that.
didn't have a say in this.
Okay.
But if she were alive, I think she would probably urge me to be more conservative. My parents are the more conservative sort. My father was like, okay, you're young, you do whatever you need to do. So he was quite supportive, like most fathers are, like very, very chin chai. Like,
Very chin chai.
Just do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, then after...
Sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the reason why we wanted to start a physical tuition center is because that we were not tech trained, right? We don't know coding, we don't know how to build websites, we don't know what is WordPress. We thought all websites must be built on HTML. And so we thought, hey, why don't we start a tuition center first, understand the industry, and then we take the revenue, and then we channel it to our online education pursuit. This will be the end goal. So we will make the money from normal traditional physical tuition center, but we will use the proceeds to funnel into our online education startup.
I see.
But again, it was a very stupid plan because once you start the physical center, all your time is just devoted to the operations, the setting up, the marketing, the sales, the content creation. And then somehow I started teaching. I didn't expect I would be teaching.
What did you teach?
Oh, I was teaching English because that was my strong suit.
Right.
And I like to write also.
No math? I mean, because you're engineering background, no math?
No, actually, I was very bad in math. I forced myself to take engineering because I wanted a more solid degree.
Right.
As
A real degree, yeah.
As compared to an arts degree, even though I was more artistic. Even though I was more artistically inclined, I love to write essays and I love literature. History was interesting to me. But I forced myself to take math and the hard sciences because I felt it was a more solid degree. No regrets though.
Right. What was the toughest part about actually running the place? Is it teaching the content creation, the marketing? What was the toughest one for you?
We had no customers. That was the toughest. It's so depressing, I'm off to work and then you go there and you're just swatting house flies and why aren't the customers coming? We had no marketing knowledge. We thought we were so naive. We printed a bunch of brochures and we dropped them into mailboxes. My partner went to stick it at the void deck and I didn't know what was sales as well. I didn't know how to do sales. So what happened was we took over a tuition center that was failing. So we got it at so we took over the lease, right? Because the boss wanted to get out, so we took over the lease. It was in a very small, dingy corner of a shop house, so that's why it's
Which part of Singapore?
It is in Upper Serangoon.
Oh, Serangoon.
As of-
Okay.
Yeah, as of the time of this recording now, it's still over there, still very dingy because the building is just very old.
Okay.
Then we took over that tiny little center, and I think there was only 20 students at that time.
Oh.
Yeah, so I thought like, okay, I'm going to look at all these old customer lists, and I'm going to call all of them one by one to tell them that the management has changed. Please come back. But I didn't know how to do sales then, so I would call the customers. And then I'm like, hey, hi, Mrs. Tan. Just want to let you know that we are the new management of this tuition center now. Yeah. And then that's all. And then I'll put the phone down. And then we did that for like 10 calls. And then my partner was watching me and he was like, Jerry, maybe you should tell them to sign up with us. Right. Right. That makes sense. But I was so shy, It felt very icky to be a salesperson, right? But yeah, so that was what we were struggling with. Simple things like that. Things breaking down. One thing we struggled with was when we took over the center, a lot of the tutors who were teaching the kids, right, were quite slipshod in their behavior, as in like they don't show up to work. And
My
that was
gosh.
how I got into teaching. The kids showed up and they got a call and the tutor was telling them he's not coming. And then I'm like I remember there were like only 5 kids in the class and they looked so sad, I'm like, kids, just come into class. I'll teach you whatever I can. I'll teach whatever I can teach. But I still know some of the basic grammar stuff. It's primary school stuff. I'll teach you. So I brought the kids inside the classroom. I taught them. I did tell the staff, please, I don't want you to come back anymore because that was really irresponsible. And we went through your late coming and your disappearance many times. So from now onwards, I'm going to take over your class because it's too short of a notice to find another teacher. So I accidentally started teaching the kids and actually liked it. And the kids also like my teaching at the time.
Okay.
And I thought, no choice. Since, we can't find any teachers on such a short notice, I got to cover the classes while I find a teacher.
I see.
But the good thing is when we took over the center, there were a few older tutors. I think they were about 50 plus.
I see.
To close to 60. And they had quite a bit of experience teaching kids. So I started learning from them. I went to read up on myself, how to teach, I went back to study all the technical grammar fundamentals, how to explain things like, past perfect tense and past tense, when to use the two. And then I started trying to figure out a way to teach kids how to write because I was very disturbed by how kids were memorizing bombastic vocabulary just to impress people. So the writing looks very fake, if you know what I mean.
Actually, I want to interject at this point. This is actually something I realized from like listening and speaking to Singaporeans, is that their grammar range is a lot, or vocabulary range is a lot higher. But then, like you rightly point out, right, actually is quite, I'm going to use a vocab, it's quite superfluous.
Yes.
It's not required one.
It's not eloquent.
But
Actually,
they
it's
put
not
that
eloquent,
No,
It sticks out like
yeah.
a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Right. So that was something that was bugging me out. I could, because I really love writing. I have a very strong passion for writing and reading. And when I see kids using memorized phrases, and it's all template, it's all template style writing. I was saying like, hey, there's got to be a better way to teach the kids, right? Why is it called creative writing when it's not creative? All right, sorry. I felt the Zoom rage coming already.
No, please, do not tone it down. Do not.
No, just let it go. Let it go.
I was very, very frustrated, right? So I decided to create creative writing materials my own way. Very different from what the industry was teaching, very different from what the kids were being taught in school, and very different from what other tuition centers and other tutors were teaching. Sometimes get the kids to write in a more creative and more natural manner. It's not about the bombastic words to use. It's about how effective your vocabulary is. Like if in this situation, if we use a simple word and it fits the context better, we should use the simple word. You know, in this situation, if let's say we need to use a more rare, more uncommon, more bombastic word, okay, then by all means use that, because what matters now is the effectiveness of the word, not how flowery or how fancy it is. So I based the whole creative writing or composition writing curriculum around my ideal of what proper writing should be. And I just didn't want kids to spend all their time memorizing big phrases. So it became a very big frustration from me. So the parents would come and say, do you teach kids to memorize phrases? I say, no, I teach them to come up with their own phrases. And they say, oh, really? How? And I say, can be done, you know. So I got to show them and slowly educate parents and students one by one. So that started to become my so-called niche in teaching writing, because the methods were so vastly different from the industry practices.
I see.
And then, took up and started learning technical grammar. Okay, so now we were earning money and I was trading and investing. So we had some money to start an online platform. So we can fast forward a bit, because this one took about 2 years.
Okay.
And because we couldn't program, we got a bunch of web designers to help us with the design of the website.
Okay.
And it was very painful, because they outsourced the job to India, and there was a lot of communication breakdown.
I see.
It was very tough. So like we would tell the team in Singapore, this is what we want. But somehow the message gets lost when it gets passed back to the coders and the programmers in India. So it's like, you know, you play past the telephone.
Chinese whispers, right? They call it.
Sorry?
Chinese whispers.
Oh,
Someone
it's
said,
so
he
terrible.
said, she said, he said, she said.
Yeah, it was terrible. And then we spent about, I think the website took about 2 years to build, because there were so many bugs.
Oh my gosh, how much do you sink in the cost?
Wait, sorry. It wasn't 2 years. One year plus, and then that company went bust. I think it's about 1 year. If I remember correctly, 1 year, the company went bust. And then we found another one, another company to help us with it. But that took another 1 year. So all our bug fixing for the previous company was for naught. So like we will teach and work at the center until like maybe 10 plus, come home, right, and just keep looking out for bugs and keep talking to the web designers. You know, it went on for about 1 year, and then they closed down, and then we restarted everything again for another 1 more year.
And this is all prior to like Fiverr, the era of Fiverr, the era of WordPress, templates.
I think WordPress was around then.
WordPress was around, but
WordPress was around.
But you still needed people to code in probably HTML version 3 or
we have no idea what was WordPress. Like we were so unsavvy in tech. We don't even know what was WordPress.
But looking back at all this, what do you think that, I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, what do you think you have learned from this experience in a way? Would you do the things the same?
Oh, definitely not. Because I think one of the misconceptions we had is like, as a businessman or a business owner, just raise money and then just pay people to do your stuff. I realized that that is actually a misconception. Maybe it works for some businessmen. It didn't work for me. As the so-called boss or the founder, right? You must know at least, if you are building a website, you must at least know some of the concepts or some of the fundamentals of a website building. You don't have to be an expert, but you need to know, like, out of all the options, which one to choose. The designer is telling me this. You have to understand. And I think one of the biggest problems that happened, I remember this very strongly, was one of the investor friends, or the time I joined the Kairos groups already. So one of my investing mentors, he sent me a graph where it showed like a mobile usage spiking up.
Okay.
Desktop surfing the web on a desktop was like flatlining. The curve was evening out. And I was looking at the graph and I thought, wow, die lah.
Because it's not mobile native, right?
Yeah, this is a second project, and like I think my partner and I, we put in about $60,000.
Wow.
This online learning platform. And it is not going to be mobile friendly. It's going to be desktop, And I was looking at the graph. I'm like, how did I miss this? How? Yeah. So another thing I learned is like sometimes like it really pays to know where the trend is heading or where the puck is going to, so you can skate it there. You need to know what's going on in the world. And the next thing, sunk in cost bias, right? Because we spend so much time putting all our money into the website and trying to build this platform. We spend so much time debugging the website. We spent 2 years pursuing this idea, but when the facts are presented to us, we just didn't believe it. The sunken cost bias was so strong. It was like, nobody will serve the net using mobile phones lah. So screen so small. Kidding me, is it? Then my partner was also desktop is the way to go.
Actually, Jerry, that's so great that you, in a way, you had that what do you call it, realization, because it's so related to investing, you know. The sunken cost fallacy, especially when you research so much into a particular company, you spend so much time and then cannot be lah, you know.
So much sacrifice, 2 years of our lives. And the money was quite tight then. Money was very tight because we put a lot of money into these operations, and the physical tuition business wasn't doing very well because again our marketing and sales skills were terrible.
Okay.
And I remember there was this very painful dinner I had with my girlfriend and then now wife. We were eating like I think hamburgers and the bill came. It was $40 only. Don't worry.
Okay.
But she started telling all the costs it requires to buy a house in Singapore, to renovate the house.
Okay.
Wedding costs.
Okay.
You know, and then I'm like, wedding need to buy. I thought just need to buy one ring only, right? Actually, you still need a proposal. You need a proposal ring and you need a wedding band.
Wow.
What is this? And then the cost started adding up in my head, right? And then I realized like for the past, it was almost about 2 to 3 years already. And my savings weren't really growing. And I knew that I was going to have difficulty paying for the house, or the BTO that we applied for. Money is going to be very, very tight. So I remember that was the most painful meal I ever had. I look at the $40, right? I felt so pathetic, you know. I felt like, now I pay $40, I feel so much pain, you know. This is not the, something's got to change lah. Something had to change. And, I got really, 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 really very serious in the business lah. So I started working much harder than before, and I started learning and I started seeking help from people who are more financially accomplished, or people who are doing pretty well in their small business at the time, and just trying to learn and absorb as much as I could. I started buying a lot of ebooks. I was driving my father's car at that time, and I would play audiobooks and listen to audiobooks, investing, business, anything about investing and business. I just kept trying to educate myself in those areas.
I see.
Sorry to interrupt this podcast. I know it's a little bit annoying, but I want to tell you something that I think can be really helpful to you. I can tell you're really interested in the stock market and want to learn more about it so that you actually know what you're doing, especially when today things are getting more complex and complicated. That's why we came up with the Stock Investing Blueprint, or SIB. It's our signature e-learning program that teaches you how to pick the right stocks most of the time, buy and sell it at the best possible time, and manage your stock portfolio systematically. It currently has more than 10 hours of content and it's growing. You'll also be part of a group of like-minded investors that can help speed up your learning process. To hop on the program, click on the link in the description or go to learn.firl.co/courses/SIB.
I'm just curious. Thank you for highlighting to us the courage and also the drive that you had. But I was just curious about why the choice of stocks and not properties. And property is a very Asian thing, especially I think in Singapore. Why not that? Why didn't you go into properties in a way?
Okay, so actually at that time I had just like a lot of Singaporeans, and probably Malaysians as well.
Yeah.
I thought property was the way to go because we see a lot of the financially free, wealthy people. They're all property tycoons, right? Yeah, there's just one problem. I got no money to buy property. It's so expensive. The buy-in is so high.
Yeah.
Right? You got to drop a few $100,000 to buy one property, and there's a lot of restrictions. You can't just it's not so easy to buy properties in Singapore. There's lots of restrictions.
I see.
The cheapest buy-in for me to invest my money was stocks. Stocks. Yeah, I can I put in $2,000 on a stock. I can put in $5,000 on a stock. Property, I got to cough up 6 figures. I just don't have that. That's why stocks was a very good way to grow wealth on the side while I try to manage my business at that time.
I see.
Yeah.
MJ, you had any questions, MJ?
Yeah, actually going back to your story, because you just told us the trough. You stopped explaining to us when you were, in a difficult moment. But clearly, what was the turnaround? I'm really interested to know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so the turnaround came was that's the scary thing about starting a small business. The turnaround, you read the books, you think it's cliche. The turnaround really didn't come when you're about to give up. The part was quite bad. So the website launch, it was not mobile friendly. We had zero revenue for 6 months.
Okay.
Just trying to get people to join the site, zero revenue for 6 months. It was an utter disaster. So I thought, then after that, for some reason, I discovered WordPress and I'm like, hey, this is so easy, Why did I spend $60,000 getting designers to build my HTML website and now I can't even make any changes, So I discovered WordPress and I got educated I educated myself on WordPress, and we started pivoting to a WordPress site, which we have control. And I remember again, it's still not the 12 yet. My girlfriend at that time, my girlfriend and I at that time, we haven't traveled for quite some time. So I remember when we go to Japan, I was bringing my laptop along. So that part was, I remember that part was really towards the end, really, because my dad was seeing me with my laptop. He was driving us to the airport. He saw me with my laptop. He's like, son, why are you bringing your laptop on a holiday with your girlfriend? And I'm like, I need to work on a site that this time it will work. I told him this time it's going to work. And my dad was like, that's quite irresponsible, She waited so long to finally have a holiday. She's been studying a part-time degree for so long. And now you're going to bring your work on a holiday. That's not very nice.
Oh, he said that right in front of both of you. Is that
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Wow,
and he did have a point because my girlfriend really had to put up with my so-called workaholism, but there was no choice. When you're poor, right, you can't act like you got money. So even when we were in Japan, it was a very budget trip. I would just go back to the room and talk to my partners like, hey, how's the site going on? Typing stuff, telling them what to work on. And I couldn't really remember much of the trip except when I came back, I'm like, yeah, let's launch the site, man.
Thank God you're still married, man.
Yeah. That was very, I'm just very blessed to have my wife. So launched the site, failed again. It failed again. I thought, okay, this is the last time already. It failed again. Somehow, my partner and I, although we were good partners in the physical center, we just didn't have the skills to partner with each other for an online venture. So that's another lesson learned. Just because you are good partners for certain business, but when the skills are different, the partnership is quite strained, because then we were quarreling. Actually, I was the quarreling one. I was the one who was quarreling, and he was the one, taking all my hair dryer treatment, and he was being nice about it. That's why he's still my partner now. If it's someone else, I think we would have split up long ago already.
I see.
So we said, hey, let's start our own thing. Okay, we can't work together on this online venture. We will still continue working together for the physical center business, but for the online venture, right? Hey, we do our own thing, we can't work together. So quite sad. That time was very sad, really. So I think in January, I told myself one more time, just one more time, and I just read the Lean Startup, create a minimum viable product.
Yeah.
Don't go and be a genius and dump 60K and 2 years of your life, and then you don't have a revenue. So I did a very rough, very bare bones website, which is what you see now, the Writing Samurai website. and I had very, very few course content, and I said, okay, I'm just going to launch it to see whether people will join or not. lah. So I had a free course, I learned some marketing, like, okay, give them a free course first, and get them to join this 30 days free trial, and then maybe they will pay me a monthly fee for the course and the marking services provided. And launch again the free course, crickets chirp, not a single person sign up. I'm like, oh no, I told myself this is the last try already. And at that time again, it was very funny. I remember this moment. My dad was sweeping the house, and I'm being like a jobless bum again, clicking on the computer. I'm like, Dad, can you sign up for this course? And he's like, what are you talking about? I work in the office. I know how to use computers. Because I thought the target customer was about my dad's age. Actually, they were younger. lah.
I see.
But my dad was the oldest person I could get around. So he went to my website, and one of the buttons was called Add to Cart, because I was using a WooCommerce software.
WooCommerce, yes.
And I don't know how to, I didn't have the coding skills to change Add to Cart to enroll now, you see. So, but this is a course, right? So you can see there's a discrepancy. You are signing up for an online course, but the button says Add to Cart. So my dad was like, clicking, and I'm like, come on, Dad, just click Add to Cart. Just click it, Dad. His mouse cursor hovered around the button. I'm like, come on, click it. And then he moved to the side, and then he scrolled down and he read all the course content. I'm like, Dad, just sign up. What's taking you so long? He went all the way up, and he clicked on my face. So my face blew up, because I'm the course instructor. My face blew up. He was like, whoa. He clicked the close button, the X button on the screen, except he clicked X on the browser, and then he's now back on the desktop. And I'm like, Dad, why didn't you just click Add to Cart? And I say, why would I be adding it to cart? I don't have a cart. I don't add to cart. Then I realized hey, the whole language was
Wrong.
totally wrong already. It shouldn't be add to cart. It should be enroll now. So I had to figure out how to change the very silly word into enroll now. Launch again. A few people started joining. I think only like maybe 5 to 6 students. And then I thought, okay, I can sell my physical center, get a full-time job, and then I will just do this online education thing on the side. I think after many years, I will finally pay off my house with my investing and long-term patience and mindset. I will do it.
Okay.
And then I remember telling that to my friend. I'm very resigned to my fate. But then suddenly something strange happened. The students who joined the Writing Samurai site, they liked the methods a lot. So they started coming to our tuition center. So we were starting to see an uptick in numbers in the tuition center. Like my partner and I were ready to wind down and get a full-time job ready. So we started to see the numbers going up, and the Writing Samurai website, it started growing and growing as well. So the numbers started adding. It wasn't a big rush, but maybe every month, 10 more students, 10 more students, 10 more students.
Encouraging numbers, for sure.
Encouraging numbers. It was a very decent amount of money for me at the time. And then I told my partners, I told my partner, I remember we had a meeting until 12 midnight. We set goals for ourselves, We did all the motivational fluff, like, all the Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, like, come on, guys, do it, man. Shoot for the stars. No, seriously, I was so desperate. I was listening to all those motivational tapes, audiobooks at the time, to get myself psyched up every time I go to work. And then we set a target. We changed our operational processes. We really talk about what's not working, and then we made a lot of changes to our marketing and our sales. Now, to sidetrack a bit, the turning point didn't come like that. There were more. How do I say? It was like a snowball. It started rolling, because like when you are reading so much, right? The knowledge doesn't appear, immediately. There's like a time lag for the knowledge. So I was reading about marketing, sales, copywriting, how to do digital marketing, how to run Facebook ads, Google ads, what's a sales funnel called, persuasion methods, best practices for writing copy, what's the font size, whether must it be bold or not, email.
Serif or non-serif?
Yeah, basically I got sucked into the whole internet marketing world. The very, it can get a bit scammy looking,
Yeah.
hey, check out my house, this is how I make passive income. I
Yeah.
was learning from a lot of those internet marketing influencers.
Who were some of the memorable ones for you?
I tell you the old school ones. The old school ones I learned was from Gary Halbert. He was a copywriter who made like millions of dollars selling things by mail order, and he wrote, I think, letters to his son while he was in prison. So a fellow copywriter recommended that to me, and I read it. He also recommended me a few other copywriting books, which I read and a lot of sales book. I think the typical sales book, which I think all of us are acquainted with, is Persuasion. I think the recommended by Warren Buffett. What's it called again?
Oh, this
Robert
influence.
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 Robert
The
Cialdini, yes, correct.
Carnegie course. The
I also read Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie. Yeah.
So influence, and I started to see like, marketing and sales really is a science, and it started taking off lah. So I knew that my life was going to change when I remember that year. I think it was June. We were running some holiday workshop programs and all the email automated sequences, the lead generation, all was running on automation already. We were seeing the revenue start to go up already. And I remember I was in Philippines. My girlfriend at the time we were swimming, snorkeling, looking for whale sharks, and the phone just kept ringing non-stop lah. For some reason, work always follow me when I go on a holiday. The phone was ringing non-stop, but I decided not to touch it. When I came back to the lobby, I saw I had so many missed calls because when the sales emails or when the sales machine started taking off, right, people really did sign up.
I see.
Yeah, so the thing that was missing from our business was a proper lead generation and sales process.
I see.
The teaching, the content, the curriculum was all fine and dandy, but as a business in a crowded, competitive industry, you need sales lah. It's not like you build and then they'll come lah. Maybe that works for tech businesses, but for low tech businesses like tuition industry, the sales really was a lifesaver.
Understood.
And I remember when I saw the number of signups, I look at it, right, and I knew, right, a lot of my financial worries are going to be solved very soon. Because I remember that was, I hate to make it sound like I'm bragging, but that was my first 5-figure income month.
I see.
Nice.
So I saw that and I was like, wow. And I'm here, next to the pool with a beer. Oh God, I've become one of them, passive income guys. In my beach shorts.
But not very passive lah, the journey, right?
Technically, it's not very passive lah, but it was passive in a sense that the sales machine was running while I could have a holiday. But after that, when I came back, I need to run the workshops, I need to teach, we need to do all the customer service and follow up and all the operational work lah. So it's not that passive, but the concept was the sales and marketing concepts were there. So that
Better
was
than a job lah, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. So that was when things started taking off.
Understand.
Yeah, that was when things started taking off.
Wow, I mean, it's fantastic journey. I mean, MJ, I'm like watching like a Marvel movie kind of scripting. No, it gives us
a bit PTSD. I recall like so close to quitting.
Yeah, great. I mean, we have somewhat of a similar business in a way, similar business model, and I'm very heartened to listen to your journey. I think MJ and I were pretty lucky, a little bit luckier compared to you. So I'm now going to pivot into investing, and once you had that, in a way, the first pinnacle of your business success, right? Did you see you spending more time pivoting towards your investing and putting that capital that you earn from your business into investing? That's one. Second thing is that I remember we had an earlier conversation about people forgetting that once you have, a lot of people have this fallacy of getting passive income, and it's such a good segue to what you said earlier. But it's actually the real power of earning money actually comes from active income, as you've clearly demonstrated from your business story, right? So what advice would you give to people who are like in this perception that, I need to build my passive engine so that, I could quickly retire and I quickly solve my financial issues, which you clearly showed, right? my God, active income is the one that really brings in money, even though you had to suffer, in a way, suffer. So what advice would you give them, Jerry?
My advice, I think my friends have probably heard this advice so often that they are no longer my friends. I'm like an old grandfather, like nagging, So the advice I would give is, the first investment you need to make is not in stocks, it's not in property, it's actually in yourself. So like if you had listened to the story, again, I'm pretty sure there are many roads to Rome.
Yeah.
But based on what I know, and I was saying this when I was much poorer, and just starting out, was invest in knowledge and skills. You if you want to, you want to make it big, right? You need to have skills, You just can't outsource that to anyone else. You need to have your own skills. Maybe if you are an engineer, maybe you can work to getting into a management role, which means you need to have management skills and not just technical skills. If let's say you say, I want my earnings, I want my income to be very high. I want a very high income. Like one of the ways to do it, right? Like you got to go to sales. You got to be in a sales role. Let's say if you are working, you need to go to a sales role. Because if you are working, in the back end role, your income ceiling is probably going to be capped.
Yes.
Yeah. So if let's say you want to talk about making money, all right, we're not talking about passion or solving problems, but when you talk about really trying to dig yourself out of a financial hole, sales, marketing, these are the two skills, right, that will pay off big time. I'm sure there's a lot of cases where people invested in their knowledge into machine learning, AI, or something very tech savvy, and then after that they command a very high income. Yeah, but that works as well. But I can't comment on that because I that's not in my circle of competence. So do what works for you. That's my advice. Do what works for you. Really build up the knowledge and the skills, and not just rely on your degree, your diploma, or whatever academic qualification you have, because it is not enough. It is definitely not enough. That's the first step.
Great.
Sorry, what's the second part?
The second part was about this passive income and active income, because a lot of people think that, they want to be like you, Jerry, in Philippines, sipping a beer, and then I've arrived, kind of thing. but then
the road there was
yeah, but the road there, as you clearly illustrated to us, is actually not that simple. And also the compounding effect of getting that capital was actually more from your portfolio. It's a 7-figure portfolio, which we're going to get to soon. But the portfolio capital was really from your business. And what would be the advice that, a lot of people, they earn a salary of 3,000 ringgit, some of them, right? And they want to take an investing course or a momentum trading course, which we'll come to also. And they want to get into that $1 million segment really, really fast, right? And here they have this notion of, I want to get my 1 million, but also not having to have so much time spent on that active pursuit of it. So what would be your counter to that in a way?
I think you got to get very, very, very lucky. But if you got to get very lucky to hit the 1 million so quickly. But again, I think recently we do hear lots of Bitcoin millionaires popping up. Yeah. But if let's say such opportunities weren't available, there was no Bitcoin then, the only way to build up your capital fast, right, is really put yourself in an industry where the tide is rising.
Good advice.
That was I think that was another learning I had. So you may be asking, tuition center, tide rising. The rising tide wasn't the tuition center. In fact, it is quite sunset. Right? I'll probably get disrupted in about 5 years. The rising tide during that year was Facebook ads. Facebook ads was so cheap at the time.
I see.
So there were a lot of people making millions from drop shipping.
I see.
All right, there were lots of case studies. There were lots of internet marketeers making 5-6 figures monthly just from arbitraging the Facebook ads.
I see.
And so that was the rising tide that lifted us. That saved us. When the Facebook ad targeting algorithm, right, started working during that year, it was a rising tide.
I see.
So if you want to, my advice, if my 2 cents, I wouldn't say advice,
Yeah.
is if you want to make money fast, I wouldn't say it's an impossible, I wouldn't say it's an impossible dream. Like I do debate this with some of the value investors
Yeah.
who are more conservative with a long-term mindset. You know, you want short-term fast money, find a rising tide. Find a rising tide, learn all you can, have the skills, have the knowledge, and just leverage a rising tide and ride it out. You can probably make quite a large sum of money. But it is not passive.
It is
It
not
is
passive.
very, very active. It's very active.
Yeah.
None of the successful friends I know did it
Passively.
taking their link.
Yeah.
But the passive part comes in when your portfolio is large enough
Yes.
that maybe a compounding of 7 to 8% is enough to cover your financial needs. So that's when the passive part comes in. But to get to there, right, if you know you don't come from a wealthy background, to get to there, right, a lot of hard work need to be put in. Another advice I would strongly give to a lot of young people, and again, lost a lot of friends as a result, is seriously just delay gratification. Try to delay your gratification. Try to save and really stop yourself from buying things that you don't need.
Hold on. Why do you say? I'm just very curious. Right? Why do you say you lost a lot of friends as a result? I think that's a very interesting thing you said.
Firstly, cause it can come like you know, I'm giving advice from a moral high horse. You know, you save your money. You know, be zen. You know, don't spend so much. But the thing is, like, we as humans, we really do like to spend our money. Now, when I say things like that, right, I contradict myself. You know, there was one time I did walk into a Rolex watch shop, say, I want to buy a Rolex. And then they say, sorry, no stock. I like, okay. And then I walked out. I like, what happened to me, man? What was I doing? Like, even knowing that, you know, this is just a delusion. I'm just trying to signal. I'm just trying to show off to people how successful I am. But yet, I still walk into the shop and I asked for a Rolex. So sometimes when I give advice like that, it can come across as very annoying
Or condescending. Maybe.
Condescending to people. But I'm trying to think of a better way to phrase it properly in a less condescending tone, because But the truth is, if let's say you want to, in a less condescending tone, I would say, like, if you really want to have a 7-figure, 8-figure, maybe even go to a 9-figure portfolio, you can either get there by starting a tech startup and selling your business for maybe $50 million to $100 million. Now, most of us may not have such skills. So if let's say you're like me, average intelligence, not a very big network, not too savvy with tech stuff or business, all right, the only way to get there is to live very frugally and let the money compound. Because the moment you take out, you know, a few $100K to buy that Mercedes, you take out, you know, a few more $100K to buy that condominium, the compounding just stops. So that's the truth.
Great advice, man.
On why, you know, you should be frugal if you want to have a larger portfolio. And also, like, the hedonistic treadmill is it's a very scary thing. You know, there's so many things you can spend your money on. So you can be making maybe 20 grand, 30 grand a month, and yet still just blow it all away very, very quickly.
Understand.
I think there's too many case studies of rich celebrities going bankrupt.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so it is a real issue. So
Understand. Yeah. I just want to check in with MJ whether he has questions.
No, I think that was perfect. I think now we need to ask him about some of his thoughts on certain investments. Right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
The juicy bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Jerry, you know, maybe some context first as well. You were sharing with me that you're not a person who will go into very, very deep discounted cash flow modeling. You would go nuts on an Excel spreadsheet, right? Before you invest into a business. So maybe can you share with us what are your investing styles? You know, what are your investing styles? And then we can start talking about a little bit about what are you looking at currently.
Okay. So I think like when I left off and talk about my business, I was talking about trading and I was being very confused about
Yes.
Ben Graham, right?
Yeah.
So things started to change when I read Philip Fisher and Peter Lynch. Somehow these two books, right, resonated with me more.
Okay.
And I started to lose myself from the previous learning that, stocks are patterns that you can trade with. And I started to see stocks as businesses. And it also fits my personality because, I love entrepreneurship. I love businesses. And the fact that I can hold so many pieces of so many businesses, be part of so many businesses, and be technically partners with all these great founders, right? It appeals to me very strongly. But again, the short-term trading mindset and a lot of the wrong misconceptions I had was still in my head. So it actually happened when the breakthrough came when I won a trading competition. I think I bought Valuetronics and then it shot up and then I'm like, yeah, I'm a genius. I use it as my profile pic on Facebook for that time. And then I went to network with one of the Motley Fool Singapore writers whom I looked up to a lot and I felt I had some kind of
Connection.
BFF connection with.
Was it surging? Was it surging or?
Oh, he wasn't surging yet. Surging looked too young.
Okay.
I was noticing surging, like, this guy's good, but he looks too young. It was Chin Hui Leong from the Smart Investor.
I see.
He's running the Smart Investor website right now.
I see.
So he was writing a lot of things that resonated with me. He was saying things like, hey, you should read From Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Jim Collins, yes.
That book can give you business insights. And I'm like, yes, I was just thinking of that when I was reading the book. Instead of reading an investment book,
Correct.
read a business book, you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Since you're investing in business. So I started Facebook stalking Mr. Chin. And I added him as a friend. And, I thought, with my, trading profile pic,
okay,
he's going to be impressed by my, to be my acquaintance. So I messaged him. No, he messaged me first. He said, what do you want? Because he's like, who is this guy? Just added me out of nowhere,
Yeah.
I don't have this kind of fan voice. So I said, hey, I've been investing on my own for about 4 years. I wish, someone could pull me into a network or an investing network. Do you have one I can join? So I just asked him that. And I think if I remember correctly, Chin's side of the story, he was having lunch with Serging.
Okay.
And a few of the other Kairos investors, this investing mastermind.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, this guy just messaged me. Should I call him for dinner this Friday? It was, I think, a Christmas dinner at a German restaurant. And then he was like, yeah, let's call him over. So they invited me, they sent me the details. And when I went there, right, it was really one of the life-changing moments. I stepped in there, right, thinking I could show off my knowledge, right?
Okay.
Because I just won some trading contest. I made about 80 to 100% on this stock called Rossi Pacific. Again, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I knew, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I thought I was pretty good already, So when I went there with my ego all high up, right? First person I met was Serging, whom I think you just interviewed.
Yeah.
First person I met was Serging. He was so young at the time. I looked at him and I asked him, hey, so what's your best stock? I asked that question so I could have a chance to show off. So I was setting up the humble brag, So I can say, me, Roxy Pacific, 100%.
Yeah.
But Serging smiled, in a very earnest way. Netflix. So I think it was about 6-7 bagger at the time.
Yeah, correct.
You can go that high. Because when you're investing in SGX market, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see, I don't know what's a 6-bagger, I thought 30%.
Cannot phantom, right? 6-bagger.
How do you reach so much, Then I started talking to Serging and he was just very fascinating. And not only him, the rest of the other investors who were present at the dinner, the way they talk about value investing made me see things that I didn't see. And then I suddenly, for the first time in my life, knew that I was the village idiot at the table. And when you go to a table and then you're like, God, I'm the stupid one here. Everyone is so smart. I hear people talking about the valuation of Kingsman, how they would value Kingsman. I heard people talking about ARA, asset management. And then after that, the the mentor I was stalking, Chin, appeared to come and talk to me. I was like, hey Chin, what is your best stock? Again, trying to set up my humble brag, and he Netflix 20x for me now.
Yeah.
You can hit so high, 20x.
Crazy, man.
It's crazy. So I realized like there is this whole other world
Yes.
which I didn't know. And I remember going home after the dinner, I was in a daze, The 4 years my investing, right,
Yeah.
is not investing at all. It wasn't investing, it was just trading. I thought I knew, but I didn't know. So that was a big turning point, investing. After that, I started learning from them. Hey,
Nice.
I want to get started on US stocks, I don't see like 20 baggers in Singapore's market. How do I get started? And the whole gang, they were nice. They're like, hey, you can try the Motley Fool US subscription. And I said, okay, I'm going to sign up for that. Started reading and started getting more into it. And everything I read from Phil Fisher and Peter Lynch started to make more sense.
Correct.
And I started forgetting about the graphs. And I stopped thinking of entry and exit points anymore. I stopped seeing all that. But deep down inside of me, I was still torn between what you call growth investing and the deep value investing.
Okay.
That one still was a disconnect, right? So the trading is gone, but now you got, these stocks are growing so fast, but valuation is so high.
Yeah.
But this one valuation so cheap, but the revenue like not moving, like which method works, So that was maybe another 5 years of figuring out what works best for my style.
I see.
But long story cut short, now I would summarize my style as buy very, very high quality companies at fair valuations. If they are very expensive, you can still buy them, just make it a smaller part of your portfolio allocation. And if let's say it's a high quality company, valuation is cheap, then you can probably buy more. But we can't have the best of both worlds. It's always it seems to be like they always seem expensive until in hindsight you look back,
It's
Amazon
actually
was
pretty
a price to cash flow of 5 years ago. But truth to be told, when any of us bought Amazon, we were like, we don't know what's going to work out, but the valuation is quite high, but the business quality is so good, You just can't have the best.
You know how much I bought Amazon for, Jerry?
How much?
1,000. I still remember exactly the price because I queued for 3 months. 1,580.
Okay, 1,580.
Yeah, 1,580 ringgit. $80 actually.
Okay.
And at that point, I was like thinking, my God, this is expensive. This is the most expensive stock I ever bought.
Yeah.
Right? But then, if you look at back in hindsight, right, I also had the same realization as you about quality of businesses. And it's something that a lot of quantitative valuation metrics will actually miss. And that's where the elevation of you as an investor, Yeah. MJ, any questions for?
No, I think I've just been looking forward to what are some of these high quality.
Yeah, exactly. So Jerry, what are the? I know you're a fan of SaaS. That's one.
For
maybe
sure.
what are the sectors, or maybe you can start with SaaS, and then maybe you can share with us what are the sectors that you or business qualities that you look for.
Oh yeah, so I think for a period of time I was torn between value or dividend stocks, but now I'm more or less centered around businesses that are the so-called top dogs, to use the Motley Fool term, top dogs in their industry.
Okay.
So it'd be very interesting if I could, you can find a top dog business and maybe they're just competing against incumbents. If the incumbents are very slow, that's an added advantage.
Okay.
Look for those that can just keep growing revenue year after year after year after year, free cash flow year after year, high net margins if possible. If possible. Of course, there are some exceptions. So some of the high quality ones I really like is actually Amazon. If I remember correctly, I've been buying it since $800.
Wow.
I just keep
Topping up.
Just keep topping it up as it go up. And every time I buy it, I still feel like a bit expensive. This is not Van Graham. But looking back now, I'm glad I made the decision. But that's a lot of hindsight. I can tell you honestly, when I was buying, I felt it was quite expensive. I I was quite worried about the valuation, but it did work out quite well. Another one which I'm very, very have a very high conviction for is Shopify.
Okay.
Because the way Shopify is doing its business, right? It's a completely different beast, you know. Like when I remember when I look at Shopify like 3 years back. Was it 3 years back? About 2017, 2018.
Okay.
And the valuations were insanely high, I think. At the time, it was about price to sales of 20. At the time, we were like PS 20 and then no profits.
Not even PE, right? Talking about PS,
PE,
right?
like,
Yeah.
what is this, you know? But for some reason, because, you know, when you're in the internet marketing space, you realize that Shopify is the best solution. The next best solution would be like a WooCommerce or
WooCommerce,
Magento.
yeah.
But if you use all those platforms, right, you realize they are lagging very far behind. So I had this kind of a deep, not say deep insight, it's a bit of this inside knowledge in the industry that, you know, I think the analysts are not seeing Shopify for what it is, you know.
Yeah.
So if let's say, I did remember I was talking to my friends like, hey, if you want to compare Shopify, don't compare it to WooCommerce or Magento because they are really quite far behind. Maybe you can compare it to WordPress, you know, because it's free, so it may be a competitor, you know, because it's a platform. But within the 3 years, right, they came up with so many new services and they grew so much that they can't even be compared to WordPress anymore. Now people are comparing Shopify with Amazon. They're saying Amazon is now their competitor. In just 3 years, this company totally changed. Now they are even doing, they're trying to handle the logistics on their own as well.
Oh, fulfillment. Wow.
Yeah, Shopify, I think Shopify Pay also. They have they added like a fintech module to their business arm, and it really took off. I think Shopify Capital, and now they are talking about high trust commerce. So where they can create an app called the Shop app so you can engage with the brands directly instead of you know, being a slave to the marketplace.
I see.
Now I apologize if I can't explain this as detailed.
No worries.
Me too, but my understanding is very rudimentary when it comes to these stocks. But Shopify is definitely a high quality company I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Another one I really like is Illumina.
Okay. What do they do? I heard of it, but I've never read about it.
Gene sequencing.
Ah.
So there is a long read gene sequencing. There's a short read. Long read, you got PacBio and Oxford Nanopore, but they're on my watch list, but I wouldn't dare to touch them yet because I find that the valuation and the financials don't really match.
I see.
But I think ARK Invest, they are betting on the long read sequencing being the future.
I see.
For me, I look at Illumina and I find like they are almost monopolistic in the industry already.
I see.
So if I remember the figures correctly, maybe they corner about 80 to 70% of the gene sequencing market. And with the cost of sequencing, right, getting lower and lower, you know, that the market might just expand.
Yeah.
The cost of gene sequencing might just expand. And the crazy thing is there's still a lot of discoveries. There's still a lot more businesses. There's still a lot more problems that can be solved once the price of gene sequencing reaches to a very, very affordable top.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the numbers for Illumina. I think 1.4 billion in sales to 3.4 in 9 years. Okay. Net earnings from 151 to 630. So there's actually roughly about 4 times net earnings grew. I don't know what's
the recent years they didn't do so well, but the future looks bright now that the cost of gene sequencing is getting lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm very bullish about. Another stock I like a lot is also Fiverr.
Oh, Fiverr, yeah.
Yeah, Fiverr, because the team. Okay, so like when I talk about, you know, making money, you want to ride a rising tide, right? So I try to kind of apply that to investing by looking at certain sectors where the tide will give, you know, the strong management team and business model a boost. So the rising tide I see here is the digitalization of freelancing. So instead of and the democratization of freelancing as well. Like I remember in the past when I tried to get someone to design a logo in Singapore, the design company tried to charge me $3,000, and then when the logo came, it looked like two wispy lines. When the people saw the logo, they said, "You paid 3K to some guy who designed 2 taugeh for you." So when Fiverr came out, it was a very big game changer. You could get logos done for $5. We don't have to. It just democratizes the opportunities for a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses. So Fiverr is another one I like. They're executing very strongly. I don't think their competitor Upwork can even match their user experience for now. So Fiverr is another one I like.
I see.
But there's so many
payment space. I'm a big fan of Stripe. Too bad they're not listed. The integration of their payment system, and I was sharing with MJ, how they detect fraud detection and then they'll bar the cards. I'm like, you are kidding me. This kind of service exists.
Have you tried Stripe's customer service?
I've tried it.
It's like your mother talking to you.
I'm amazed. I was just blown away. I seriously, I was telling MJ, because the experience you said building that website and all that, and we actually host on a cloud-based LMS system. And I'm like, my goodness, I set up this whole thing. It took me a lot of learning. I banged a lot of walls, okay? But I knew that if I had to build this 5 years ago using WordPress, I would have to get help. But now I did it all on my own, okay? But what was interesting was that because in the previous company that I worked in, the payment integration, especially online, was so tough. I had the Stripe thing up so and easy. Running. It's like that. I'm like, where have you been all my life?
So when it came to payments, I think my biggest mistake was not buying more of PayPal.
For
some reason, I thought Stripe was going to overtake them.
Yeah.
When PayPal came out, I was like, oh, you guys have not seen this other competitor called Stripe. I remember Stripe just was still very nascent at the time.
Correct.
Very few people in Asia heard about Stripe. I said, they are going to disrupt PayPal.
Yeah.
No, the market is big enough for both of them.
Yes, exactly.
So I realized my mistake and I made PayPal one of my core
holdings
portfolio holdings.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
I love fintech.
Yeah, I'm in very much alignment with you. I'm a big fan of Patrick and John Colson. I listen to a lot of them. These guys are Scottish. You never expected someone to from there. Mostly in the Silicon Valley. Of course, they are now based there, but their thought process, the way they think about money is insane. It's seriously insane.
Yeah, they're too high level.
Yeah, correct.
But I would say like Tobias Lutke from Shopify. He's
that
along
is
the caliber as well.
Yes, exactly.
Which is why I'm so bullish on Shopify as well.
Okay, so fintech, SaaS, any other industries that you look at that is part of your holdings actually that is interesting to share?
E-commerce. So I think like we thought like e-commerce is it's old news, but it seems like we are just getting started. Especially like, okay, so in my portfolio, I do have a C. Not a very big allocation though, because I tend to be, if it's burning cash very aggressively, I would want to tread, more safely. So it's a smaller allocation from me, but definitely watching them. Etsy. I really like what Etsy is doing, building up a bigger allocation in it. And of course, still Amazon. AWS is just a winner.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at some of the e-commerce players as well.
I see.
Mercado Libre as well. I got
Mercado Libre.
Libre. Again, not a very big position because again, the cash burn can be a bit scary. Because I think when you want to invest, right, you want to have a good night's sleep. So I try to divide my portfolio into defensive, medium, and aggressive. And make sure that my aggressive allocations don't overstep, isn't more than the defensive allocations.
Okay, great. I want to dig further into that. In terms of geographical segmentation, if I would put it this way, it sounds very much tech-driven fintech, which is very US predominantly based. You have anything in Asia or even in Singapore or in China that
The C count, I don't know. Excluding C lah. Excluding C.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, JD as well.
Oh, JD?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a big position in JD as well.
Okay.
I remember when I started buying it, right? Richard Liu got accused of the rape.
Oh yeah, the rape case. Yes.
Yeah, so it was very painful to watch the stock drop.
Okay.
And there was actually we were actually worrying whether he will go to jail or not. Because if he does go to jail and if he did commit the crime, the shareholders are all going to pay for it.
Yeah, key man risk.
That was really a key man risk. Of course, if he committed a crime, he deserved to go to jail for sure. But that was a very harrowing moment. I'm still holding on to JD. It's done so much better now.
Yeah.
What others?
Singapore, I mean, now from moving, because you've changed your mindset, right? I'm pretty sure when you started off, it was very Singapore driven and then now US driven. Would you say that it is like 60-70% of your portfolio that is US based?
I think right now I've only got about, if I remember correctly, I think I only got about 2 Singapore stocks. iFast and DBS.
Oh, iFast.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure DBS falls into the defensive category, I guess.
Oh yeah. It was a very defensive category, and it was a valuation play lah.
Okay. Price to book, I'm guessing. Price to
correct.
book.
It was at a very cheap valuation when I bought it. So I kind of broke my rule that I buy super high quality businesses at a fair price lah. So old habits die hard lah. Like so cheap,
Understand. Yeah.
But it's not a big proportion. Okay. iFast was when I was looking at it, it was about $1.30 and $1.
Wow.
And again, at that time, I was still confused between cheap valuation and good quality business. So at the time, my thesis for iFast was, I tell you the thesis, you'll probably laugh.
Yeah.
Fair valuation seems like a good dividend play. Because it was the dividends were increasing, and I thought they can pay the dividends. This could be a good dividend play. And then I think the PE ratio at the time was about 30. But if you minus away the losses in China, the PE should be about 24 to 26 within the range. So I thought, hey, for a subscription business, for PE of 30, I think it's
pretty reasonable.
I wouldn't say it's that cheap, but it's reasonable. It's reasonable. So I bought it, and it's one of the biggest allocations right now.
Yeah, because it went up like, since if you bought it at 180, it's probably up like 5 times right now.
It's about
it's $8 now, right? It's 8 something.
Well, what explained the rise actually?
So I wish I could explain in more technical detail, but their revenues and their profits were just expanding. They're just doing very well, and I think they are coming up with more initiatives soon.
Yeah, they just got their broking license, right, for Malaysia. Sorry, they got their broking license for Malaysia.
So they have a lot of things going on. I keep track, but I don't know. Only when my stock do badly, I will come and take a look. Like, hey, what's going on? When they're doing well, I'll just skim through the news and just let it be.
Understand. Hey, so it's good. That's a good point that I want to segue into. You reach a point where your portfolio in a way is sizable, 7 figures, right? How many hours, roughly how many hours in a week do you actually spend to either generate new ideas or to follow up on a stock? And I direct this question in the sense because a lot of people give us these excuses. Oh, they're busy with their career, they're busy with their business, they don't have time to screen stocks and all this kind. What would be a routine or a weekly habit that you have to manage your farm of portfolio of stocks?
Nothing much, really. I don't even know how to answer you. Now I got to act busy like when I was working in a cubicle again. Actually, I can do much less. But the only reason I read about stocks, maybe once a week, is because I have interest in it. But honestly speaking, there really isn't much to do. Maybe perhaps when the earnings come, then I will just read up on some of the stock earnings and pay attention to the more aggressive bets. Like, I'll probably be interested in looking at C's numbers, Pushpay's numbers, But Mastercard, Facebook or Amazon, I
just
probably,
close eye on it.
just take a quick glance, or PayPal, I just take a quick glance.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to do much. So it's more of just sitting on your butt and just letting it compound. But when it comes to allocating money, maybe every month I will fix aside a certain amount of income, and I will choose stocks that I'm probably underweighted in.
Okay.
and I want more exposure to. So if let's say, oh, my portfolio is getting a bit a bit too defensive, I can afford to get more aggressive stocks. So I can allocate to the current existing stocks I have now,
Okay.
or maybe try to search for ideas.
I see.
So how I search for ideas, the Motley Fool subscription, I'm still subscribed to it.
Okay.
I'm also subscribed to the Smart Investors, Chin's website. So
Dr.
I've been
and Dr.
investing
Kuo,
alongside.
right?
Sorry?
Dr. Kuo as well, right? Dr. David
Oh
Kuo.
yeah, definitely. The
Yeah.
ex Motley Fool SG team. Because
Yeah.
I've been investing alongside with them for 5 years.
Okay.
So I'm very comfortable with the stocks they pick. And also, after I read their reports, I will do my own research and my own thinking as well. But that has greatly reduced the amount of research I have to
Yeah.
come up with. So but that's because I've been investing with them for 5 years. That's why I have this level of confidence.
see.
I did invest in Surging's compounder fund as well. Because after looking at his investment performance, his thoughts, the way he picks his stocks, I also just set aside some money to invest in him when he launched his fund.
I see.
So
Great.
this is how I do my idea generation from the compounder fund website, or maybe I will take a look at what the smart investors are offering and just basically read a lot. And our investment mastermind, sometimes people will mention something interesting.
Yeah.
If I'm interested, I'll take a look. If not, then I'll just continue
Take it as a
allocating
learning
to my
log.
current the stocks that I currently have.
Yeah.
About 52 of them currently.
Understand. Oh, so that's the amount of stocks you have in your portfolio.
Yeah, I prefer to keep it diversified.
Okay.
Because as you can tell, I'm not that technical, or my memory is not even that good about the stocks I hold. So I find that I think Charlie Munger said, if diversification is for people who don't know what they're doing, I have to eat after so many years. I really eat humble pie and realize that I'm not that good. There's a limit to my intelligence or competence. So it's better to diversify. So in case something blows up, I don't go broke. So
Understand.
I'm not so smart or so convicted to only hold about 8 stocks, though. I do respect the investors that can do that. I really hats off to them. I can't do that.
Understand. Great. Before I move on to the next question, MJ, you have any questions?
I just want to. I don't know if this is the next question, but I just want to get your sense on, since you made that switch right into this more, you can say growth at reasonable prices kind of strategy,
GAP.
GAP, right?
Yeah.
The finance field never fails to give us very cool acronyms. So when it comes to GAP, right? What has been your biggest learnings? Because obviously you've charted for us your journey from one learning lesson, which is that basically the light side is long-term investing and the dark side is momentum or swing trading. Then you also talk to us a little bit about, okay, now you've got growth and value. And so now you're kind of leaning to the value camp, right? Rather slowly, right? You still buy DBS, but you're still going there in the other direction. So having been the more growth at reasonable prices camp, right? What would you say are your biggest learning lessons from all your experience so far?
I think the biggest learning lesson I took away from investing, right, is basically a constant battle of your biases. It's I think once after a while, right, you can do all the research you want. You can invest. You can make a lot of money. You can do short term, long term. But at the root of it all, right, we are all just fighting our biases. So that's one of the biggest learnings I had. Biases in what sense? For example, the sunk-in cost bias may come back into play again. Like if let's say I've put in a lot of money into a certain stock and the situation has changed, all right? The TCs change over time. The situation have changed. Well, I have to be able to look at the fact and say, hey, it was good when I bought it, but now the situations have changed. There are more competitors. COVID is hitting them hard. They're probably not going to recover. It's time to cut. So you got sunk-in cost bias. Maybe you got anchoring biases you need to get rid of. Like, oh, I bought Amazon at 800. Now it's 3,200. How do I buy that again? You got to overcome biases like that. Maybe you want to look for the next shiny new thing, right? In the investor group, and then someone talks about this other hot stock. You're like, hey, maybe I should invest in that. For me, probably I have to curb my aggressive bets. Because I know by nature, I'm somehow, someone once pointed out that I'm kind of addicted to risk. At first, I was quite offended by the comment, but then when I observe my actions, like, yeah, maybe he observed something that I'm not aware of. So I find that my biggest learning is trying to be aware of my thinking. And the scary thing about us as investors, right? I think a lot of times we can fool ourselves into decisions, right, that seem very smart. So like we will tell ourselves, oh, it's time to sell this stock because there's no way it can grow any further. So it's time to take profits now and go. I think that thought seeps into our mind very, very frequently once we see like a couple of beggars. So I can understand like a lot of retail investors who are not so
experienced,
not so sophisticated or experienced like me. They have the urge to want to sell, like, oh, 3 bag already, sell it. But then after that, the worst part is your brain will come up with very smart scenarios on why the company cannot grow anymore. You just got to, I find like the biggest takeaway is to notice that thought and tell myself like, is this thought generated because of fear or is it because of fact? And it can be very hard to discern whether the thoughts are leading you or you controlling your thoughts. So that is one thing I'm aware of. So I try to just do nothing. So if let's say I'm wrong, I should have sold, then too bad. But most of the time, from what I experienced so far, the winners keep winning because of the momentum and all that. But again, when the time comes, when a stock is doing well, I probably have to revisit all my biases again.
Understand?
Yeah, so I think that's the biggest learning. Constantly fighting with your own mental state, which I think a lot of beginner investors have not realized this yet.
Yeah.
I think Jason Zweig's book is a very good book. Jason Zweig.
The which one? The Devil's
Psychology of Money, I think.
Oh.
There's another one called The Art of Thinking Clearly. I got it on my shelf.
Yeah, Daniel Kahneman, is it?
Daniel Kahneman is Thinking Fast and Slow. That is also one I recommend. So I think like as a growth of an investor, after reading all the investment books, the next type of books you may want to read would be these psychology books where they talk about all the biases.
Psychology of Money, I think, is Morgan Housel.
Morgan Housel, yeah, but there's one by Jason Zweig.
Jason Zweig wrote a lot of books. There's one I think very funny, which I really like. It was The Devil's Dictionary of Finance. It's red in color.
No, okay.
It's just it's so funny because it's all the finance terms like GAAP and all that, but they put a humor towards it. Yeah. So I just chanced. I didn't really.
It is Jason's right, that Devil's Dictionary.
Yeah, Devil's Dictionary was very nice.
Another one where he talk about how humans make very silly decisions when it comes to money and how we delude ourselves into thinking that.
This is called Your Money and Your Brain.
Yeah, correct. Thank you, MJ.
Jason Zweig.
That's the one. So I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. Like, it's just a constant battle with your mindset and your thoughts and your biases, which are tugging you apart constantly.
Understand. Great. So I'm going to move on to probably the last segment, and I think it's pretty interesting, and it's with regards to your angel investing. And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this, and I'm going to give you the space to talk about it. So you did state in your profile that you have a portfolio of companies, and what really piqued my interest, okay, there's a few questions, a few angles I want to take this from. One is the type of companies. I noticed that there's a lot of fintech as well as SaaS companies. There's also a cancer immunotherapy company. But what I really want to start off with is you're invested, you made this statement, I'm invested alongside Jeff Bezos, Mark Benioff, Alexis Ohanian, I don't know whether I pronounced that correctly. Okay.
Yeah, founder of Reddit.
Reddit, yes, and Naval Ravikant, a big favorite of mine. Okay, Naval Ravikant, Excel Ventures, 8VC, HubSpot, Shopify, Octa Ventures, and more. So why did you put that statement in actually?
So when it comes to the angel investing space, right? I find like a lot of startups, right? They need to put all these venture capitalists or angel investors, all these famous people, to name drop and for social proof, For social proof, That is the honest truth, It's really there for social proof. I find like to be an angel investor, right? This kind of things have to be done because when you are trying to build a network, right, you want to attract people into a syndicate. You need to show some connections or show some judgment.
Understand.
So if let's say you tell people like I do angel investing and I invested in these companies, and then you just keep quiet, it's not going to
It's not going to jive.
it's not going to draw people to your syndicate. And the cold hard truth is you need more connections, and you need more acquaintances, friends. You got to widen your network in order to get the deal flow.
Understand.
Because if I actually considered whether I should put all this or not, but the truth is the network, building the network, right? You really need to reach out. You need to
Understand.
reach out to people more, and not keeping quiet and staying humble.
Correct.
I don't think it doesn't work unless you're Naval Ravikant. Then
Naval
you
Ravikant.
can, but if you are like a small fry, just trying to start a syndicate. Sorry, I need some attention.
Yeah, understand. No, you know why I was also for a selfish reason, and I put this honestly on the table. If you have Naval Ravikant's personal number, I would definitely want to network with you.
Okay, so let me clarify, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to burst your bubble. If you notice on my profile, I say I invest on Angel List right now. Funny thing is, I was about to go all zen and let my portfolio compound until I went on a hiking trip with one of your podcast guests, Eugene Ng.
Oh, yeah. A favorite of ours too.
Hey, Jerry, you got to get into angel investing. Wow, the things I see on Angel List, insane, they're the next level of business. Yeah, I'm like, I was trying to hike and be zen. I'm like, who is this guy pulling me back into the startup world? I just want to compound my capital and lead a stress-free life. But sure enough, I signed up for Angel List. And I do see very, very interesting cutting-edge businesses out there. I'm sorry I can't review too much.
Understand.
Because there's a
NDA.
There's an NDA, and they will kick me out.
Yeah.
But so some of the deals invested there, these other investors like Bezos Venture Fund, 8VC, all these prominent VCs, they also invested in some of the deals that I'm invested in. So the cool thing about Angel List is that we used to think like to be an angel investor, we need to throw in like huge chunks of money.
The buy-in is big, right?
50K, 25K, 100 grand.
Yeah.
But again, right, the awesome thing about platforms like Angel is, right, it democratizes the investment. So you can get deals that are at a lower buy-in.
What was the minimum buy-in that you see so far?
The minimum one I've seen is like 1,000. So you can still buy in and take part in the investor's journey.
Understand.
Yeah.
Understand.
But now that I reviewed that, I think I look very uncool.
Don't worry. Yeah,
But,
please don't feel obliged not to. Please don't feel obliged to divulge if you can't. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the good thing about platforms like AngelList. But again, you do have to be accredited. You got to make some declaration before you can join.
So you still must be an accredited investor before you can be on the angel list. I see.
Yeah, correct. Too. So because I think it's a US law to protect. For some reason, they think that if you are rich, you know how to manage your money better. So that's the misconception that I think a lot of these investment laws have.
Yeah. So before
that's about AngelList. Okay, so like what we are trying to do, we are trying to get started doing some angel investing in the Southeast Asian region. So right now I'm currently trying to build a syndicate. Nothing fixed yet. We are just a bunch of friends who like investing. So we got some investors in the group, some entrepreneurs who have sold their business for 8 figures. Yeah.
Wow.
More than 10 million. We got entrepreneurs who sold their businesses in the group. Still a very small group of us. We're trying to get it growing. So if any of your listeners, your subscribers are interested in diving into angel investing, perhaps we can just meet up and get to know one another.
Sure.
So we are just building the network. Nothing concrete yet.
How do people reach you? I know it's supposed to be at the last part of the episode.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll give you a place where you can give a shout out.
Yeah, they can email me at jerrylee@writingsamurai.com.
jerrylee@writingsamurai.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like let's say you're a startup that's starting out, you may need funds, or if you are an angel investor looking for other fellow angel investors, you can reach out to us and you'll just try to make friends and see what happens. I
Understand.
think it's still very early.
Okay, great. Probably this is the last question, unless MJ has any more questions, is about from your angel investing journey and your public equities investing journey. What are the similarities as well as differences you see and the skill sets that you need to invest in between the both? Are they starkly contrasting, or do you see much more similarities in the way you evaluate angel company versus a public listed company?
Okay, so I don't think I can give a very wise answer on this. Firstly, because I only just started with angel investing. It's only like maybe 3 months.
Okay.
Only 3 months. So far, right, so far, if you look at the stuff I'm invested in, it is still quite similar to public stocks. Like a fintech, I think I invested in a cheaper cash in Africa,
Yeah.
Razorpay in India. So these are not like outrageous ideas. The only outrageous idea I've invested in is this company called Deep Sentinel. They are making security cameras
Okay.
that are trained with AI machine vision, so they can sense an intruder coming to trying to break into your house.
Okay.
And a human security guard will actually tell the perpetrator, the intruder, to go away, and they will call the police immediately.
I see.
So it's like a machine learning with a human in the loop.
Understand.
So that was one of the more outrageous ideas out there.
Okay.
Now the difference, but so far what I see, right, the difference in angel investing, right, I may be wrong, because it's just we only know whether I'm successful or not maybe 5 to 10 years later. So just starting out, I see like you must be willing to bet on very, very wildly crazy ideas. So it may be more speculative in nature. So if
Understand.
like there are any more professional seasoned angel investors that say I'm wrong, hey, feel free to let me know in the comments. Based on what I see so far, your mind must be so vast, where you can see possibilities or businesses that can be built when no one has ever pictured it. So the more crazy the idea, you probably got to look at it. Whereas when we are doing public investing,
Yeah.
we need to look at the financials. We look at competitors, we look at valuation. We got so many data points. But when it's just one crazy idea, it's so difficult.
Understand.
So difficult. It feels very speculative. So that's, I think, the differences currently. But there are some similarities though. Like
Yeah.
you would notice like things like a marketplace businesses can scale very well. From public investing, you can see, this sort of businesses can scale as a capital light. So when you see the same kind of patterns appearing for angel investing, you can draw a connection.
I see.
Yeah, but again, I think you probably need to interview me 10 years later to see how I do.
Yeah, to show your portfolio.
Because the truth is, the feedback mechanism is just so long. I'm
Yeah.
not going to act like I'm super successful as
Yeah.
an angel investor. I could probably lose my money on everything.
Understand.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Don't worry. Maybe you can be as good as Chris Saka, 5-10 years from now.
Wouldn't put myself up there.
Yeah.
So currently, I'll put it, my angel investments maybe about 3 to 4% of my portfolio. The reason being so that if they blow up, the compounding in my public stocks will just easily cover it.
Yeah.
If let's say my public portfolio compounds at 8%, then covers the 3% easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's so I'm still very wary of the risk in angel investing. It's not going to be easy.
Understand. MJ, over to you. Any questions?
I only have one last one, which has to do with, because I know because of the lack of information, right, in in angel, the management is very important. The guy running the show. In fact, it is probably the most important, right? Because we run, and I don't know if this is your experience as well, running a business. John and I, we run a business as well. At the beginning, like both of us are really important.
Yeah.
And now we've only been in business for about a year. Then we realize our responsibilities kind of reducing a little bit, like 5%, right? Because we have like partners or other people working with us and things like that. And I assume that trend should continue over time. And so that's why when you reach, let's say, the public markets, right? It's almost like you are buying into the system rather than the management anymore. That's why you have the quote by Peter Lynch, right? Better to find a company that an idiot can run because eventually one will. So, but in the case of Angel, it's very difficult for that because there's no system, right? There's no proven product. At best, maybe there's an MVP, right? If there's MVP, it's really a really good business.
Yeah.
So, what has been your experience, even though it's just 3 months, with like analyzing management? Because the weightage to look at the person behind the system or the system that's about to be built is extremely crucial.
Yeah, so I'm taking it very. I'm trying to be very safe. So I only look at founders who have experience exiting with exits before. So like
That's your margin of safety, in a way.
Yeah, correct. Again, past results doesn't determine the future. But I would probably feel better if I seen that the founder has exited a company, for 600 mil, 500 mil, or at least started something and exited before.
Understand.
So that is one of the points I look at. So if it's a totally fresh founder, I probably wouldn't dare to put too much money behind him, or maybe I would just skip the deal. So I think so far, most of the angel investments I made are like second, third time, or maybe fourth time founders.
Understand.
Yeah, so I think maybe the odds of winning are better.
Understand. Yeah. Okay. I think I really enjoyed this conversation. I don't know about you, MJ. I'm very.
I mean, it's really good. I think we've got on a lot of high, kind of high finance minds, and what I like about this conversation is that you're able to explain basically the important basics, but at a very easy to understand level. I think that's probably a testament to your background in copywriting and creative writing and all that as well. So I can see that synergy. I don't know if someone has told you that before, but that's definitely what I see, and I think that's what has made this conversation really good.
Sorry if I can't go super in depth into a stock.
No. Actually,
a very surface level understanding.
No, that's exactly what we want to, like what MJ said, we've brought people with high finance, people who were ex-fund managers, managed 100 millions, hundreds of millions, or even billions. And then here we want to, from your story, and I think it's a very humbling story and I really love it, is that, hey guys, we can do in Malaysia, we say, do it the kampong style, or the village style. And yet, if you put in a little bit of work, and you may not need to know high finance, but you can still compound your money at the rate at what you have done, and then it's a testament to that. I think
but
that's
you need
where,
one thing.
Yeah.
Superpowers of delayed gratification.
Oh, okay. well said. Yeah.
Don't spend your money on frivolous stuff. That's it. You gotta
And make sure when you find your girlfriend or your wife, someone that can,
definitely with the same values.
Yeah, same values, willing to take in that delayed gratification, willing to be patient with, your quirks. I'm pretty sure, she'll might be asking along the way, oh my God, is my husband or my future husband going to succeed, or are we going to end up in a bankrupt married life?
I'm pretty sure that was on her mind every now and then at that moment.
Yeah.
So I think my final advice would be work hard, learn as much as you can, and just be very, very frugal, and seek help, build a network, and learn from people smarter than you are. If you do this enough, sooner or later, you're going to get lucky.
Yeah.
If you don't get lucky, you'll still compound it nice and easy.
Yeah, correct. Jerry, it's been an absolute pleasure. We see whether, I'm really looking forward to go down to, once all this COVID is over, to meet you, to meet Serging, to meet Eugene, to meet, all the great guys down in Singapore.
Yeah.
So stay safe, and hope to see you again in maybe part 2,
10 years later.
This is recorded, by the way, so you can take it back.
10 years later.
10 years later. All right, have a good evening, Jerry, and see you again.
Hey, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you. Okay.